By the end of the year? Sealy, and this is the CBC. A pleasant good morning to you. It is Monday, May 16th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. We do apologize for the absence of audio and the delayed start. But in our news this morning, we're hearing that by the end of the year, government hopes to have created a new Department of Family Services, which will amalgamate all critical service entities. The plan was outlined by the Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, Kirk Humphrey. He was a guest on last night's Public Affairs program 101, aired on CBC TV 8. Mr. Humphrey noted it was time for the four main departments of social services to be linked as one.
We have to reduce the duplication that exists, prevent the potential for agency shopping, which currently occurs. We have to be able to be a lot more effective and a lot more efficient and to respond faster. I also feel that we have to give people an account. So in our thinking, we have now created a model for the Department of Family Services. This Department of Family Services will pull together the Child Care Board, the Welfare Department, the National Assistance Board, and the National Disabilities Unit. There is a unit in the ministry that is called the Strengthening Human and Social Development Unit. They work now with 250 families. Those families have the benefit of all the best of social services because they have, it's a family and a program that is sponsored by the IDB. So they have access to 7 pillars: housing, education, healthcare, daycare. It is the model, I think, for which we must move forward.
Also in the works is a review of the draft bill dealing with persons with disabilities. The minister hopes to have a more modern bill before Parliament in the next 6 months.
That bill looked at the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And the reality is that even though we have drafted that bill, it doesn't speak to all of the issues. So I've been through the bill and we're reviewing the bill. We are about to have announce an advisory committee that former Minister Edmund Hinkson will lead, and he and others will look at that bill and incorporate all the necessary things that are necessary now for persons with disability to recognize that we have a modern bill that is fit for purpose. That I hope to have before the Parliament in 6 months. I've set timelines for everything that we've done. That has to be before the Parliament in 6 months. And to then put in train and in place a system that allows persons with disabilities to have access in law to the things that they should have access to anyway.
There's some advice this morning for Barbados and the region on what should be the new approach in the battle for reparations. It's coming from Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Commichong. He believes Barbados and other CARICOM member states need to bolster the call for reparatory justice by joining forces with other former colonies around the world. Ambassador Commichong is of the view that it's time for this to be a global movement.
We are only going to win the battle for reparations if we transform the campaign for reparations into an international mass movement, similar in scope and size and power to the anti-apartheid movement, the international anti-apartheid movement of the 1970s and 1980s. And we are only going to be able to transform, to develop our reparations campaign into an international mass movement if we Caribbean people, if our people, if it starts with us, if we understand the history behind the reparation claim, and if we appropriate the reparations campaign, not only at an intellectual level, but also at an emotional level. And our people will only attain that kind of level if we engage in the public education.
The ambassador there giving his take on the situation regarding reparations last night on the People's Business on the topic, the significance of emancipation to Barbadians in 2022. His comments also come during the season of emancipation, which started last month and is on course for what would be the longest season in recent memory, some 4.5 months. Ambassador Comishong points out it's part of a mission by government to ensure Barbadians understand the history and why there should be no backing down on the movement for reparations.
It began on the 14th of April when we started with the commemoration of the Bussa Rebellion. We went to the Confederation riots, 1876, Heroes Day, Labor Day, African Liberation Day, the 25th of May, which is coming up. And we're going to go right through Emancipation Day, the Day of National Significance, Marcus Garvey's birthday, the day to commemorate the abolition of slavery. And what the government is trying to do with this extensive season of emancipation is to really reach the Barbadian people, to give them a deep understanding of our history, of our struggle, and ultimately out of that understanding will come an appreciation of what is owed to us.
And the People's Business will be re-aired on Tuesday. You can check our listings for the exact time of the airing. Now some news in from police. Lawmen are this morning continuing investigations into a shooting at Bush Hall, St. Michael. According to reports, it was around 9:15 last night that a man was shot at Bush Hall Yard Gap. Police from District A say the man was critically injured and taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance for treatment. We'll bring you more details as they become available. We'll take a break here, but next on the morning report, we'll get a local COVID-19 update on the numbers here. And we're hearing that North Korea is entering a 4th day of its first COVID outbreak. In our COVID-19 updates, we hear that Barbados has recorded 310 new cases on Saturday. The statistics include 136 males and 174 females from 1,217 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. Of the positive cases, the bulk of them, 231, were 18 years and over. There were 110 people in isolation facilities, while 4,587 people were in home isolation. Looking at what is happening now in North Korea, that country has entered its 4th day of nationwide lockdown in what's reported to be its first confirmed COVID-19 outbreak. State media they're reporting 42 deaths, a figure that is likely to rise, with hundreds of thousands of suspected cases. Many worry that a health crisis is already well underway in North Korea.
Up until recently, North Korea's leader would never be seen in public wearing a mask. But now, Kim Jong-un can no longer avoid it. Local media is calling it an explosive outbreak of COVID-19. Dozens of people have died, with more than 800,000 suspected cases. The government has ordered a strict lockdown, but cases are spreading fast. On state television, a doctor recommends gargling with salt water if suffering from a fever. With a crumbling healthcare system, a malnourished population, and no vaccines, experts worry the pandemic could have a devastating impact on North Korea.
The outbreak could lead to shortages and an economic crisis. In order to prevent that, the government's conducting food rationing measures.
But the surge in infections didn't stop the government from testing its weapons. Just hours after announcing the outbreak on Thursday, it fired 3 ballistic missiles off its east coast.
This indicates that the country will likely conduct missile tests more frequently to counteract the depressed atmosphere caused by COVID-19 among North Korean citizens.
The first cases of the Omicron variant were reported in April in its capital, Pyongyang. The same month, the city hosted several large public celebrations where most people did not wear masks.
Well, let's hear now what's happening on Morning Barbados on this beautiful Monday after what was an awesome Sunday night. The full moon was out. Many people got a chance to view that. Let's hear what's happening with Wendy.
Yes, it was awesome, Shane. It truly was to see that red moon on the lunar eclipse. Well, over on our side, we're going to be talking to the CARICOM ambassador, His Excellency David Commichon, about the movement of our skilled nationals, finding out exactly who has the ability to move and what you need to move with and where you need to go to ensure that you have the necessary certification to move around the region and work. We're also going to be looking at the season of emancipation, because come this weekend, it's going to be the UNESCO World Day for Cultural Diversity. And they're going to be celebrating it through food, Shane. So you know there's nothing quite like food to let us learn of each other's cultural differences. So we'll be discussing that with Senator John King, as well as Ajani Lane, the coordinator for the Emancipation Roots Experience show. So this and lots more ahead at 6:30.
A lot happening during the season of emancipation. Thank you, Wendy. When we come back from the break, though, we'll hear about more gunplay in another St. Michael community. We'll tell you where that is in a matter of moments. Members of the Ferniehurst community were jolted out of their sleep yesterday as gunshots rang out in that Blackrock St. Michael area before dawn. Our Shane Jones has more on this story.
Around 4:50 a.m., police at the Blackrock station received a report that shots had been fired in the areas of Block 17 and 19. Police say they made a rapid response to the area and, on investigation, were made aware that at least 2 males had been shot during the incident. As the police marked the area to help assist with the investigation, this large gunshot hole in the back of one of the residents' vehicles told the story of what unfolded. The men wounded are a 25-year-old man from Bushall St. Michael who received injuries to his lower stomach, lower right back, left buttocks, hands, fingers, and has suspected internal organ damage. He was reportedly transported by taxi to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for medical attention. The second injured person is a 36-year-old man who received lower back injuries. He was transported by a private motor car to the QEH. At least 4 houses and 4 motor vehicles sustained damage. While some residents remained tight-lipped about the situation and others didn't want to speak on record, a few told me that gunplay in the area is a regular occurrence and they are not shocked by the morning's events.
Our Shane Jones reporting there. The second phase of the Rock Hall Freedom Park officially opened yesterday with the staging of a heritage fair. Organizers are optimistic the heritage event and new multi-purpose venue there will continue to grow in popularity. Aaliyah Briggs has more.
Rock Hall Freedom Park in St. Thomas came alive with the sweet aroma of tasty food, music and cultural performances at the first Heritage Fair in the season of emancipation. With Rock Hall being the first free village in Barbados, production coordinator Adiza Aja Andweli says the fair is of great historical and cultural significance.
But the fact that the first is being held in the first free village, which represents the freedom of our ancestors, right, living in a space that they could call their own, was tremendous, right? You know, it was tremendous. So to document the first Heritage Fair in Rock Hall, very important, right? You know, and I think that what it's going to achieve is to drive home the historical aspects of who we are as a people.
Scores of Barbadians of all ages and backgrounds attend the Heritage Fair, which coincided with the International Day of Families. According to Aja, events like these are an important part of preserving Barbadian culture.
That historical knowledge of who we are as a people must be told not only to this generation, which because we don't know a lot, but to the younger generations, because we are not transferring the information to them because we don't have it ourselves, and for generations to come.
Officially opened in August 2020, the Rock Hall Freedom Park has seen major developments over the last several months. In Phase 2 of construction, an amphitheater, performance stage and other fixtures were added to transform the site into a space for cultural and creative art productions. The Heritage Fair featured performances by the Barbados Landship and the Phoenix Steel Pan Orchestra, and a highly anticipated concert honoring spooge icons like Jackie Opal and Gittens too. Aja shared his expectations for the Heritage Fair.
I think that is the start, and once you have reaction and there's a reaction, so the reaction means it is a success, because you don't have to have a total reaction one at the same time. It's developmental, and people come and see the space, they start to talk about it. This place is awesome. So I think that I'm glad that it happened, you know, and I'm just looking forward for this place to continue to grow and evolve.
As the season of emancipation continues, Barbadians will have more opportunities to honor and celebrate their ancestors, with several other events and activities being staged in the month of May. Aaliyah Briggs, CBC News.
Police in Jamaica continue to make strides in ridding the streets of illegal guns there. Over the weekend, 2 high-powered weapons were among 4 guns and 89 assorted rounds of ammunition seized by the St. Catherine North Police in Linstead.
Head of
of the St. Catherine North Police, Senior Superintendent Howard Chambers is warning the public that the police will not relent in their efforts to restore normalcy to the division. This after the police seized an M16 rifle along with 2 magazines containing 17 rounds and a 12-gauge shotgun along with 5 cartridges containing 28 rounds in Linstead in the parish Friday. 2 semi-automatic pistols and 44 rounds of ammunition were also seized. SSP Chambers says shortly after midday, a joint police military team was on patrol in Commodore District when a man was seen acting in a suspicious manner. He says the man ran when the team tried to accost him, leaving behind a large duffel bag with the 4 firearms, 89 assorted rounds of ammunition and a blue baseball cap marked police.
Now, the images in this next story may be disturbing, and there is a warning for viewers after shocked residents of Buffalo, New York gathered on Sunday at vigils and church services to mourn 10 people killed in a racially motivated shooting by a white gunman, as the U.S. President Joe Biden said hate remains a stain on the soul of America. The U.S. Department of Justice has announced it's investigating the rampage. Let's take a look at what happened then.
18-year-old Peyton Gendron killed 10 people, wounded 3 others in a predominantly black neighborhood of the city. He remains in police custody. A manifesto believed to have been posted by the shooter promoted white supremacist views.
We must all work together to address the hate that remains a stain on the soul of America. The hearts are heavy once again, but a resolve must never ever waver.
Analysis of 14 major cities found hate crime reports to police surged 46% from the previous year. Though pandemic lockdowns may have suppressed those 2020 figures. Anti-Asian hate crimes increased by more than 300% in 2021 compared to the previous year. And Jewish communities reported the most hate crimes of any ethnic group in New York, almost doubling in a year. The report found overall, Black Americans remain the most targeted group in most cities. Let's speak to Brian Levin. He's director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University. He also served as a police officer in New York City. He joins us from San Bernardino in California. Thank you for your time. First, let's be clear about this shooting. This was a hate crime, wasn't it? The shooter specifically traveled 3 hours to this particular neighborhood because of its demographics. He went there to take Black lives.
Absolutely. Not only is it a hate crime under both state and federal law, under state law, eligible for life in prison without parole, federally eligible for the death penalty. It's also an act of domestic terrorism because that definition goes to criminal and violent acts which are used to intimidate a population or subgroup. So it's both a hate crime and it's the worst act of racially motivated domestic terrorism since 2019's El Paso massacre, which left 23 souls dead.
We really do hope that there is an end to this violence somewhere in sight. Let's take a look at what's happening in the world of sports now. The former Barbados and West Indies all-rounder Dwayne Smith set the field ablaze at Darrell's Road yesterday, smashing 111 not out off Maple in the 7th series of matches in the BCA T20 Cup. Batting first, YMPC made 218 without loss, to which Maple replied with 68 all out. Antonio Austin bagged 5 for 10. The biggest upset of the day, however, came at Weymouth, where Barbados Youth A defeated Police by 5 wickets. Scores in that match: Police 96 for 9, the Schoolboys 97 for 5. At Bank Hall, Empire won by 5 runs under the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern method. Empire won 28 for 8, Gladiola 96 for 6. Over at Lodge School, Yorkshire 132, Barbados Youth B 88 for 8 to lose by 44 runs. At Bayview, UWIA defeated St. Catherine by 5 wickets after the home team made 145 and UWIA replied with 149 for 5. Meanwhile, at the 3Ws Oval, UWIB defeated Wanderers by 34 runs. Time now to take a look at weather. The temperature right now, 27 degrees Celsius at almost 6:30. That is pretty warm for this time of morning, so you know what you can expect for the rest of the day. There may be some showers looming as the relative humidity is up to 83%, the barometric pressure is 1014 millibars, and we've been getting some strong winds over the last 12 hours or so. They're coming out of the east right now at 35 kilometers per hour. And that's it for this edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with headline news. Up next is Wendy Burke with Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
And a marvelous Monday morning to you. I'm sure all of us are over the moon this morning. Yes, literally. Because after watching the lunar eclipse and seeing that red moon, you know, it just made you feel so in awe of nature. Well, we're up, we're geared up, and we're ready to go. I'm Wendy Burke with you this morning. And this morning we will be talking with His Excellency Ambassador David Commichon, Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM. And we're going to be talking about the movement of our skilled nationals. Yes, the CARICOM Skilled Nationals Program. Good morning to you, Ambassador.
Good morning, Wendy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, always a pleasure to have you. Now, the Skilled Nationals Program has been within CARICOM for a bit. But we still from time to time hear a little hiccup here and there about a country wanting to refuse entry, things like that. Tell me what is really set down in law for us to be able to move from one space into the other.
Yes, Wendy, you know, I thought it's important for us to come back and have a look at this time, in light of the recent moves that Barbados has been making, particularly with Guyana and Suriname, to really cement our relations with those countries. And part of that cementing would be to open up employment opportunities for Barbados in those two countries, but also, of course, all across the single market and single economy. So you asked a good question, Wendy. It takes us to the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, establishing the CARICOM single market and economy, and the famous Articles 45 and 46 of the treaty. And I'll just read them very quickly. Article 45 says, member states commit themselves to the goal of free movement of their nationals within the community. So we have this goal of full free movement. Then Article 46 goes on to say, member states have agreed and undertake as a first step towards achieving the goal set out in Article 45 to accord to the following categories of community nationals the right to seek employment in their jurisdictions. And then it lists the categories: university graduates, media workers, sports persons, artists, musicians, nurses, teachers, artisans with Caribbean vocational qualifications, household domestics with Caribbean vocational qualifications, holders of associate degrees or equivalent qualifications, agricultural workers, and security guards. And then it goes on to say member states shall establish appropriate legislative, administrative, and procedural arrangements to facilitate the movement of skills and to provide for movement of community nationals into and within their jurisdictions without harassment or the imposition of impediments, including the elimination of the requirement for work permits, for nationals seeking approved employment. End of quote. So that is the article that provides the foundation for the CARICOM Skill Nationals program.
So
And
question to you, Ambassador Commission, in terms of being in one of these particular categories, how do I go about verifying that those certificates that I do indeed hold are bona fide and can be rubber stamped for entry into the other country? Where do I need to go to get that done?
Yes, well, this is what I really want to encourage Barbadians to do. I want to encourage Barbadians who qualify under any of these categories, and bear in mind that at least half of these categories do not necessarily require certification. At least half of these categories you can qualify if you actually have experience, work experience. So for example, agricultural worker, yes, if you have paper qualifications, that will qualify you. But if you have no paper qualifications, but you have been working in the field and you have the skills and that can be confirmed, that qualifies you. An artist, paper qualifications will qualify you. But if it can be confirmed that you're an artist, a musician, a semi-professional sports person, if it can be confirmed that you have the skills, you can qualify and get your CARICOM skill certificate. This is what it looks like, the CARICOM skill certificate. This is mine. I qualify as a university graduate, and what you have to do is what I did. I went to the Barbados Accreditation Council, which is located at Manor Lodge in Green Hill. You take with you your birth certificate, your passport. I think it's 3 passport size photographs. There's an application form that you fill out. You sign that application form before a justice of peace who confirms that the information you have given is correct, and you file it at the Barbados Accreditation Council. There's a $100 fee that you pay, and within 1 week, if there are no problems with your application, you will get your CARICOM skills certificate. Now, once you have this, you can travel to any CARICOM country that is participating in the single market and single economy. And we all participate with the exception of the Bahamas. You can travel to any of these countries. You present your certificate at the airport, and you'll be given a stamp that says that that you are a CARICOM skilled national, requiring verification of your certificate. So once you get to that country, you'll be given your 6-month stay. But then what you do is that you take your certificate to the equivalent agency in that country, the agency that is equivalent to our Barbados Accreditation Council. They will have a look at your certificate, and they will see, well, this is an authentic certificate, and they will verify it. And once it is verified, then the immigration department of that country will give you a stamp indicating that you have the right to indefinitely reside and work in that country without the need for any work permit. And actually, even while you are awaiting verification of your certificate, you're entitled to work. So awaiting verification does not stop you from working.
Okay.
So right now I'm not using this, but I still have it.
You still have it.
If I need to use it, it is there.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question to you. If there was a period during which there could be expiration, or if this is a document that's valid for life and you probably just update it if one should get additional qualifications.
No, you're correct. It's valid for life, and you really don't need, even if you get additional qualifications, you really don't need to update it, because you just need to qualify under one category to get that status that permits you to reside and work without the need for a work permit. And once you are working, you may be working you may go in under a particular category, but it doesn't mean that you have to only work in that category. The whole idea behind it is to say that, look, this person is a person that is going to add value to our society, because they're not coming to our society empty-handed. They're coming with valuable skills that can contribute to the development of our society. So we should have no fear, because they're actually going to add value to the society. So the idea is just to get over that one hurdle, but then you could branch out and work in other fields.
Now, you know, we're
So
in
yes,
COVID. So the question is, can you still access the Accreditation Council in person, or do they give you scope to do this application online? Can we upload our documents already scanned, etc.?
I cannot answer that question, Wendy. Actually, what I propose to do, I really propose that I'm going to work with the Barbados Accreditation Council, and we're going to work out a public education program that will actually be focused on each of these each category of skills separately, so that we can really get the message out there. I know that you can obviously go in person and get your application done. Whether they have, during the COVID period, worked out how you can do it all virtually, I'm not clear on that. I can perhaps get some information on that for you. But I can assure you that we are going to be working together to really bring a full public education program to the Barbadian people, because we really want Barbadians to benefit from this program, and we need Barbadians to be aware of this program and all of the benefits. And we have just Barbados, that is, has just started the Construction Gateway program, where we are training,
I believe it
many
today.
Barbadians in construction skills. Yes, because we anticipate that there's going to be so much construction activity in Barbados in the immediate future that there's going to be a dearth of artisans. But it is my hope that the category of artisan, you actually require a Caribbean vocational qualification in order to qualify. So I'm hoping that the Construction Gateway will actually be developed to the level where it is giving to our artisans those Caribbean vocational qualifications that they can then go beyond just work in Barbados and qualify for the entire single market and single economy.
Well, we hope that that will come to pass, and we wish you at CARICOM all the best in working towards this Skilled Nationals program. I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning, Ambassador. Unfortunately, we've come to the end, but I know you will keep the work going.
Wendy. A quick challenge for you. I want to see your CARICOM skills certificate.
I'm going to apply in 3 areas: university graduate, media worker, and artist.
That's all good, Wendy.
Okay,
you're more than qualified.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
have a great morning,
Bye-bye.
Ambassador. Bye-bye. When we come back after the break, we'll be updating you on the news.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And welcome back. We are within the season of emancipation. We had a major event yesterday, and there's some more coming up before the end of the week. I want to welcome this morning to discuss what's coming up next on the calendar, Senator John King, who's the coordinator for the season, and Ajani Lane, coordinator of the Emancipation Roots Experience Show. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Diana.
Yes. Now, we are going to be having a multicultural culinary event, Senator King, coming up at the weekend on the 21st, the UNESCO World Day for Cultural Diversity. Tell us what that's all about.
All right, so in 2001, the UNESCO declared May 21st as the World Day of Cultural Diversity. This was all in an effort to get the world to look at themselves in a complete different way, you know, with all this xenophobia and all the other things that were going on, getting people to know more about each other and bring people closer together. And we thought that because it fell within the season of emancipation, what we wanted to do is to use that as a catalyst, so to speak, to have people to emancipate themselves from certain ideas, be it, you know, xenophobia, be it discrimination, be it whatever else, or even just ignorance of other people. And we thought to ourselves, okay, what would be the great unifier that we can look around the world and say, okay, this is something that people use all the time. And the team within the Division of Culture said, you know, let's go with food. And I thought it was just a brilliant idea on their part. And so here we are. And on Saturday, the 21st, it's going to be a real extravaganza, so to speak. We're going to have foods from a number of our embassies here who will be sampling and showcasing. And then we got a lot of the different organizations, the persons living in Barbados who are also going to be participating. And you also have some well-known and not so well-known, but who will be well-known after this event, Barbadians who will be showcasing and also selling their wear. And it's all happening in Golden Square. It starts at 11 in the morning and it goes right through until 6 p.m. Now, in between there, it's going to be interspersed with some entertainment. You've got persons like your Wayne Cole Simmons on the wheels of steel, so to speak. He will be there. He'll also be a part of the hosting process. It's going to be live streamed. There'll be lots of interviews with not only just persons in participating as exhibitors or food connoisseurs or whatever, but those people who come there, you know, we want to get a feel of what you're doing. And this is all in an effort to have the diaspora and other people around the world to also join us and see what is happening for the season of emancipation. And I want to encourage all people, if whatever you do on Saturday, don't go anywhere else to have a bite. Come down to Golden Square and we're going to have lots and lots of fun.
Okay, if I can throw to Ajani now, the Roots Experience. We had not heard about this show for some time, and it used to be one of the dominant things in terms of reinforcing consciousness and, you know, getting us in tune with our heritage. Tell me what is going to be happening in terms of this fashion show you'll be presenting.
Good morning again. Well, on May the 25th, we, the Emancipation Roots Experience organization, we are giving you an African Liberation Day extravaganza. That's what we're calling it. It's a fragment of the show itself. Normally, Roots Experience is a competition where the contestants, both male and female, vie for the title of King and Queen. But on the 25th, we'll be showcasing some designs in casual. We have a formal segment and we have some entertainment. We are also having an exhibition on May the 25th from 2:30. We'll be showcasing a lot of local craft and designs, you know, and they have some food also. So on May the 25th, we are proposing the African Liberation Day extravaganza.
Okay, sounds exciting. Now, Senator King, on that day, we will also be journeying to Farley Hill. to do something that is no tradition for us. You know, grannies do it all the time. That's storytelling. Tell me about it.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be put on by the National Library Service. It starts at 10 in the morning. And the wonderful thing about it is that going into Fardy Hill, where people haven't been locked down heavily during, you know, the worst parts of the COVID pandemic, this gives them a wonderful opportunity, again, as we promote the whole idea of getting families involved in different activities throughout the season. We're asking grannies, as you said, Wendy, granddads, fathers, mothers, cousins, everybody, bring your children to Fardy Hill that morning, and they'll have some wonderful stories being told to them. A lot of different personalities are going to be there also reading these stories, but it's a time to gather. And I don't know, Wendy, if persons like you and I in our age group will remember, you know, you sitting down at your grandmother's feet and just listening in awe of the stories of what we call then the old time days and all of the different things they would come up with. I mean, I spent a lot of time listening to, I guess, what you would call horror stories about the heart man and this and the next. And I mean, it was just a wonderful time. But those were the things. And if you look at all of the things that we're talking about today, we're talking about food, we're talking about storytelling, we're talking about fashion. These are things that are geared towards bringing people together. And I can't say this enough. This is the running theme throughout the season of emancipation. So we don't want people to think that, oh, when we talk emancipation, all we're talking about is the emancipation from slavery in its worst, you know, form, so to speak, or even mental slavery. But it's really about also emancipating ourselves from the divisions that we have and bringing everybody together. So I'm again appealing to everyone and all persons making Barbados their home, or even those just visiting, to get out and be involved in one of these activities as we go through the month of May. Because
now you're also going to be having.
Make you a better person.
Okay. Now, Senator, you're also having the University of the West Indies involved. Dr. David Akombo, he will be there as well, working with a number of our school children. Tell us why that particular thrust.
Well, I think one of the things that is happening, and which in my mind should have been happening from a very long time ago, is the connection between the University of the West Indies and the wider public. It's not only just an academic institution, but if you look at what universities all over the world do, they get into the communities, they lend their expertise and their knowledge to developing the societies or the neighborhoods within which they exist. And I think this is a wonderful initiative, again, from the cultural side of the university to get involved. And Mr. Combo is an accomplished tutor and artist, and I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, what the university is going to be doing. But I'm extremely pleased. And again, a lot of our younger people who go there get a chance to interact and get a sense of what it will be like to have the university experience as they grow older. And I'm hoping that this will be, you know, somewhat of a catalyst to getting them to be there and be a part of what's happening.
Okay. Jani, in terms of the fashion show and the designers who will be showcasing, are there any names that are well known, or do we have a lot of up-and-coming designers who will be presenting where?
Since our team is Reflections, we are reflecting on some of the designers from the past. So we have Pat Yearwood. She was one of the well-known designers with the show throughout the years, and Aiba Asher, another one of the designers. We try to mix it up. We have one or two new names that I will not reveal at this time because we have a lot of surprises on May the 25th. And just one of the new names that will be displaying her designs, too impressive. Right? That's one of the new designs in terms of modern fashion with African attire also. So she will be having a showcase at the exhibition on May the 26th.
Okay. So we are looking forward to seeing what will be on that stage. Now, Senator King, in terms of the actual Africa Liberation Day, you know, there are people who there are a couple in the midst who are always dissenting voices when it comes to us and the celebration of Africa. Once this season finishes, because May is just one part of it, once that's finished, do you think that they will really get the message we're trying to push?
I believe they will. The thing about life is that when you're passionate about something, you have to be persistent with it. You will always have opposition to anything you do in your private life, in your public life, in your working life, in your families. But what you have to be is centered and focused on what is your intention. The intention in all of these events is to bring people together, is to break down those very barriers that oppose and oppose and oppose all the time, but get people to a point where, yes, we might have a difference of opinion on certain things, but that does not stop us from joining together as a 166 small community, 280,000, 300,000 people. We need to be more together. No, as you look around the world and you see all the different things that are happening, we need each other in a complete different way than we did in the past. And again, I'm always one who says, what is the legacy that we're going to leave for our children? Even some of us as adults, we're set in our ways, we have our own beliefs, and sometimes it's hard for us to change. But what are we going to do that gives our children the opportunity to see Barbados in a complete different light?
I'm glad you're helping to bring about that change and effect consciousness within the minds and hearts of every Barbadian. I want to thank you, Senator John King and Ajani Lane, for joining us this morning on Morning Barbados, and I wish you well this week with your two events coming up, the UNESCO World Day for Cultural Diversity as well as Africa Liberation Day. Here's hoping it's great.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
When we come back, we'll have Shane Seeley and the news.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we go now to Shane Silly for the latest news update.
Thanks, Wendy. Here's your headline news for this Monday morning. It is May 16th. Government by the end of the year is creating a new Department of Family Services, which will amalgamate all critical service entities. Word of this from the Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, Kirk Humphrey. He was a guest on last night's Public Affairs program One-on-One, aired on CBC TV8. Mr. Humphrey noted it is time for the four main departments of social services to be linked as one.
We have to reduce the duplication that exists, prevent the potential for agency shopping, which currently occurs. We have to be able to be a lot more effective and a lot more efficient and to respond faster. I also feel that we have to give people an account. So in our thinking, we have now created a model for the Department of Family Services. This Department of Family Services will pull together the Child Care Board, the Welfare Department, the National Assistance Board, and the National Disabilities Unit. There is a unit in the ministry that is called the Strengthening Human and Social Development Unit. They work now with 250 families. Those families have the benefit of all the best of social services because they have, it's a family and a program that is sponsored by the IDB. So they have access to 7 pillars: housing, education, healthcare, daycare. It is the model, I think, for which we must move forward.
Barbados and the region are being told that they should be guided on a new path in the battle for reparations. The advice is coming from Barbados' Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comishong. He believes Barbados and other CARICOM member states now need to bolster the call for reparations by joining forces with other former colonies around the world. Ambassador Comishong is of the view it's time for this to be a global movement.
We are only going to win the battle for reparations if we transform the campaign for reparations into an international mass movement, similar in scope and size and power to the anti-apartheid movement, the international anti-apartheid movement of the 1970s and 1980s. And we are only going to be able to transform, to develop our reparations campaign into an international mass movement if we Caribbean people, if our people, if it starts with us, if we understand the history behind the reparation claim.
The ambassador gave his take on the situation regarding reparations last night on the People's Business. The topic was the significance of emancipation to Barbadians in 2022. Lawmen are this morning continuing investigations into a shooting at Bush Hall, St. Michael. According to reports, it was around 9:15 last night that a man was shot at Yard Gap. Police from District A say the man was critically injured and taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for medical attention. We'll bring you more details as they become available. Meanwhile, police are also probing gunplay at Ferniehurst in Black Rock, which left residents in that St. Michael community rattled. It occurred just before dawn yesterday, Shane Jones reports.
Around 4:50 a.m., police at the Black Rock station received a report that shots had been fired in the areas of Block 17 and 19. Police say they made a rapid response to the area and, on investigation, were made aware that at least 2 males had been shot during the incident. As the police marked the area to help assist with the investigation, this large gunshot hole in the back of one of the residents' vehicles told the story of what unfolded. The men wounded are a 25-year-old man from Bush Hall, St. Michael, who received injuries to his lower stomach, lower right back, left buttocks, hands, fingers, and has suspected internal organ damage. He was reportedly transported by taxi to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for medical attention. The second injured person is a 36-year-old man who received lower back injuries. He was transported by a private motor car to the QEH. At least 4 houses and 4 motor vehicles sustained damage. While some residents remained tight-lipped about the situation and others didn't want to speak on record, a few told me that gunplay in the area is a regular occurrence and they are not shocked by the morning's events.
Shane Jones reporting there. And Barbados recorded 310 new COVID-19 cases on Saturday. The statistics include 136 males and 174 females from 1,217 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. Of the positive cases, the bulk of them, 231, were 18 years and older. There were 110 people in isolation facilities, while 4,587 people were in home isolation. And that's your headline news for this Monday, May 16th. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back over to you, Andy.
Why, thank you, Shane. We'll take a break, and when you come back, it's time for you little ones to get near your phone because we'll be winning with PediaSure.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's time for Spell It with PediaSure. Are you going to spell it in 30 seconds?
And it's time to spell with us. Yes, it's time now for you little ones to win. So you can call me at 228-5562 or 228-5563. Spell the word that I'll give you and get yourself a chance to win some PediaSure, the drink that's clinically proven to help kids grow. It serves up lots of nutrition, a complete and balanced meal. So call me this morning, 228-5562, 228-5563 for your chance to win this morning. I hope you little ones, well, and you should have been in bed by the time that moon came up, but if you weren't, I hope you enjoyed what you saw when you saw that red moon. Now give me a call this morning, 228-5562, 228-5563, and even if you don't get a chance to win, encourage mom and dad to go out and buy you some PediaSure, which comes in some exciting flavors to do your little bodies good. PediaSure, lots of tasty options for brain development, eyes, teeth, the whole works. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, good morning. Could you speak a little louder, please?
Okay.
Kaylee, yes. Now, Kaylee, our word for today is mantra. Mantra is our word this morning.
Pardon me?
Mantra is the word. So let's start spelling. Kaylee, don't listen to your television. Just talk to me on the phone. Mantra is the word.
M-A-N-T-R-A-C.
Okay, M-A-N-T-R-A is the word. Yes, that's how you spell mantra, Kaylee. So I'm not sure what your mantra will be today, but mine is to ensure I have a positive day. Stay on the line and give your information to our producer so you can collect your PediaSure. And here's hoping you have a great day at school, Kaylee. Winning with PediaSure.
That was Spell It, brought to you in association with PediaSure.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
A violinist has transformed a subway station into his concert hall. Yes, 24-year-old Miles Gittens, an accomplished musician from Barbados, has transformed the entrance of the Fulton Street subway station into his very own concert hall. Now, Miles won a very tough audition to become a part of the MTA's Music on the New York program. Let's see what he's doing.
To an artist, New York's skyline is like a painting of majestic beauty. To a musician, the city could be a nerve-wracking symphony of disparate sounds. More like a cacophony of music that is the heart of the city on traffic-clogged streets. But its soul could be found underground, where the strains of a violin concerto reverberate off the tile walls of the portal to the subway ride back home. 24-year-old Miles Gittens is an accomplished musician from Barbados who has transformed the walkway from Fulton Street to the World Trade Center Oculus into his concert hall. He won a tough audition to be a part of the MTA's Volunteer Music Under New York program.
For right now, the subway is my theater and my stage. As a musician, my job is to come here and express everything I'm feeling at that time. So my art would be an expression of myself.
The bow glides ever so smoothly across the strings of his electric violin. His poetry of music is mesmerizing. Harried commuters are momentarily frozen in their dash to the train. They stand in silence and listen, the elderly, the young. His music inspires some to dance. Others use their cell phones to record his performance.
To stop and just share this moment with me means a lot.
Miles doesn't get paid by the MTA, but his music does tip some folks to drop off a buck or two. He says he can earn as much as $300 a day from a legion of fans.
It's very calming and soothing after a hard day's work.
I love when I come through here and Miles is playing because he plays so many different genres of music.
I learned to interpret other person's music in a way that helps me make it part of my being.
Miles' passion for music defies the stereotypes of his instrument. His repertoire ranges from classical to a mixture of fusion and jazz. In between, he includes music he has written himself.
This guy is phenomenal. He's just in the wrong arena.
Every time I come out and I play, I give it 100% because I'm thinking maybe someone will see me maybe someone will give me that Carnegie Hall gig, or just something that would take me out the subway.
The poetry of music, soothing the frenetic sounds of a bustling city. The vibes of a masterful musician with a passionate goal to take his music from the subways of New York and share them with other cities around the world. At the Cortlandt Street Station in Lower Manhattan, I'm Marvin Scott, Pix 11 News.
That young man, Miles, is doing wonderful things, but he's always been at the top because he's a former junior monarch, and he's also the son of Roger Gittens, a well-known local musician who continues to inspire other young musicians with his tutorship at the Barbados Community College. Well done, Miles. Keep going. You'll get that gig at the Carnegie, I'm sure. When we come back, we'll tell you all about a regional newspaper and its owner and some of what he's doing throughout the region.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Yes, and we're back. You know, I'm still not over that moon. It was just so magnificent, and red just happens to be one of my favorite colors. I mean, some of us may not have gotten a chance to see it or to see it too clearly because those dark clouds were threatening at points, but we were still all able to see it. And from reports, those at the Harry Bailey Observatory got a really good view of exactly what was going on there, and they got to watch it go through all of its phases. And life is like the moon. We all go through many, many phases, but then we come out all nice and bright. Now, we've been focusing a lot on our elderly, and one person who's very committed to care of the elderly is the former head of PAHO, Sir George Allen, the Director Emeritus of PAHO. And we spoke with him a while back about healthy aging. Here's what he had to say. Director Emeritus of PAHO, who recently spoke at BARP's Healthy Aging, and some key details were touched on March 15th. Now, Sir George, as we age, what should we be looking to do to stay healthy?
Good morning to you. And first of all, congratulations on your program. And I was lucky enough to catch the tail end of your interview with Sir Henry Fraser, my very good friend. Now, the question, what should we do to promote healthy aging? There are a couple of things I emphasize in my conversation with Bob. First of all, let me congratulate the president, whom I heard recently on a brilliant interview, speak about expanding the numbers of persons who can be incorporated into PARC to the 40-year-olds. Some people may ask, why do you wish 40-year-olds in an association of retired persons? And the point she made was she wanted to expand the insurance base. But I make another point in my suggestion for healthy aging. You have to start young. So I welcomed her incorporation of the 40-year-olds because it is absolutely critical that the things we need to stay young as we get old should start early in life. So incorporation of the over 40-year-olds is a brilliant step, and I congratulate her on it. You have to start early if you're going to age well.
That is very true. Now, this lecture was quite thought-provoking because you spoke about some things that in our society are unfortunately still taboo. And one of those issues was having sex in your twilight years. And it's something you said that should be encouraged.
Interesting, of the 10 commandments I gave, that one provoked the most interest and most questions. And the point I was making is, first of all, there's terrible amount of ageism about sex. The young people think that the old persons, the dirty old men, the women who are cougars, that sex is taboo for the older persons. The point I make is that as you get old, sex is good for your health. It is good for your health. And I pointed out that the intimacy involved in sex and the relationships involved in sex are good for your mental health. They are good for you. And we got a lot of discussion about if it is impossible for physical reasons to have inserted sex, what are the other things one does? I pointed out that is physical sex, but the intimacy that goes along with sex is a very, very good thing for your mental health. And when I was in practice, I used to have several older people come and a little ashamed that they still had sexual urges. And I would tell them, this is healthy. You go on having sex as long as you can. Go on enjoying sex with your partner as long as you can. And if the time comes when the physical aspect of it becomes a little more difficult, there's still the intimacy aspect of it, which is absolutely fundamental. So I encourage the older persons, don't be uncomfortable with sex. You go on having sex as long as you can. You go on being intimate with your partner as long as you can. It is good for your health.
Okay, so what are the other 9 commandments that we should be taking note of as we age?
I divide them into 2 groups. The first group, I said, we should avoid those physical, those behavioral risk factors that contribute to the chronic non-communicable diseases. These non-communicable diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, chronic respiratory infections, etc. We should avoid those behavioral risk factors. So therefore, in that group of things I pointed out, you should be physically active, exercise. I said there's absolutely no reason, except you are disabled, not to take regular exercise. I advise to keep a good diet, and it's very difficult with a diet to be prescriptive, but I like the old Greek expression, nothing in excess. I suggest that you should have nothing in excess. But there's one thing I emphasized was the sugar-sweetened beverages. And I was absolutely delighted to see the government raise the tax on sugar-sweetened beverages to 20%. And I was delighted that this has been strongly supported by BAR, because the reduction in these sugar-sweetened beverages is not as likely to will reduce consumption of these beverages, will increase water consumption as it is shown, and the evidence is crystal clear that they reduce the possibility of overweight, especially in children who are great consumers of these. So the risk factors I have asked that you should avoid is smoking. Smoking is no good for anyone. Alcohol in moderation, watch your weight, exercise regularly. These are some of the things, the avoidance of these behavioral risk factors that lead to the chronic non-communicable diseases. And then there's another group of things which I call the social, the way you live. For example, I said you should socialize. Interaction with colleagues, interaction with other groups, your church, etc., etc. I said loneliness is a predictor of poor health. You should socialize. And the other one I thought of, I suggested was you should stimulate your mind, do crossword puzzles, join a book club, continue to read. These kinds of things are very, very, very good for your health. And I said be positive about sex. And the other one I pointed out, as I said earlier, start early. Please start early. I referred to the rectangularization of health. You want your health to be like this and go on like this, and then a rapid decline. You don't want it to be like this, where you decline slowly over the years. So in order to compress the illnesses, compress your morbidity and morbidity into a very short period at the end of your life, I recommend that these are the actions you should take.
Now,
all of us should aim to be healthy in our older ages.
And I agree with quite a few of those things you stated, and I actually know some old folk who believe in it. Like in terms of the weight, my mother always says to me that as you age, you should try not to be as heavy because your bones are getting more brittle.
Well, let's agree with your mother. I never disagree with my mother. I never did disagree with my mother. If I did, there were consequences, but never mind. She is right about your weight. And you know one of the reasons why your mom was right? Because as you get older, if you do get heavier, and as you get older, our balance is not as good as it used to be, falls are very, very dangerous things for the elderly. And the possibility of fractures, especially hip fractures, bone, other fractures of other bones, is a real problem with the elderly. So we advise that is another reason for maintaining weight and not getting overweight. Your mother obviously was a health person when she pointed out that as we get older, there tends to be osteoporosis and our bones, as she put it, our bones get brittle, so they're likely to break much more easily. So your mother was right.
Yeah, she's very much like you, Sir George, very active, because you still are a patron of the Healthy Caribbean Coalition. You've done a lot of work on the body of HIV and AIDS in your time as the UN Secretary General. And I understand your birthday is coming up in October and you will be 90. Now, what is your secret for staying not looking 90, but also being so active and having all this energy and drive to commit to these organizations?
Well, when you become my age, you look better than I do. I promise you. If you follow the 10 commandments I gave, and if you follow what your mother's advice was, the 10 things that I said, they are things that I try to practice, obviously, otherwise I won't suggest them. And some of us are luckier in our genes than others, but there's some things we can't control that, our genes, but we can control the things that we do as we live. And again, let me emphasize my congratulations to the President, Ms. Rice-Bowen, of getting these things started from early. What this is, bend a tree in the way it should go, something like that. We learned in Sunday school. You start early, inculcate these habits from early, and you will find as you get older, you will be able to enjoy all that life has to offer.
Well,
so you keep on.
Yes, I'm going to keep on listening to my mother and age gracefully, as we say in the Caribbean. So, George, I want to thank you for joining me this morning. And I want to thank you for sharing with Bart through this lecture. It's online. People have been going back, checking it out. And I want to encourage you to continue. And we are back. Yes, we're going to take a break. And when we return, we'll be getting a flavor of soca with a bit of spirit in it.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.
we're back. Now, we are going to be looking at Trinidad and Tobago. We're going there to meet a young upcoming gospel artist. His name is Mikael. Yes, Mikael. He just brought out a brand new soca release. He's mixing the gospel and the Trini culture of soca. And he's just done a new release, Deep Down. It's something that was inspired by loss, because he would have lost his two best friends and a grandmother, all between December 2021 and January 2022. Now, loss is always something difficult for most of us to cope with, but he's decided to use that energy and feed it into a genre which he loves, soca. And we'll take in a bit of it now.
Because of you, we what? We live. He's your sustainer. Yes, because of you. Everybody sing, oh, oh. If you don't remember anything else from this song, say, I choose to live, yeah, oh, when you don't know what to pray, God hears you, oh, say, I choose to live, because of you, God, because of you, Yahweh, I choose to live, because of you, yes. Oh, we speak life into your finances. We speak life into that cancer. We speak life into that sickness. We speak life into that depression. Jesus is the way. He's standing in the gap. He's standing in the gap. Hallelujah.
Now, Mikael has just released his Deep Down. He was performing another number there. And the young man has also received some nominations. Yes, he's been nominated in 2 categories in the Caribbean Gospel Music Marlin Awards. They're coming up in July, but he's already had himself there. Good morning to you, Mikael.
All right.
Yes, good morning to you. Now, Deep Down. Tell me about it. Mikael? Okay, it seems as though we're having a bit of difficulty there with that young man, but we have his award, the nominations coming up on the 23rd of July, the Caribbean Gospel Music Marlin Awards. 2 nominations for Outstanding Hip Hop Duo and Group and Outstanding Hip Hop Recording. So not only does he do the soca, but he also does other genres in delivering the gospel of Christ. Now, Mikael was born Anthony Mikael Isaiah Gonzalez, and he was formerly known as Samis Mikael. And he happened to have written his first song at the age of 12, and since age 15, he's been actively pursuing his ministry and his music career. His love for music is largely influenced by his father, who's the singing evangelist Tony Gonzalez, and the legendary music icons of Ray Charles, Johnny Cash, and Nat King Cole also have an influence over his ministry. So we want to say to Mikael that we congratulate you on your nominations and hope you do well. Unfortunately, we are having some technical difficulties on his end. His internet is giving a bit of a bother. You know how that can go sometimes. But again, a young man doing positive things, and we continue him to grow from strength to strength. We'll take a break and be back in a bit.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. We'll be talking now with Dr. Bhaskar Sharma. He's the founder of the Equality Group of Companies. Which one of those companies in the group happens to be a newspaper? It's called Equality News. He's the publisher and editor-in-chief. Good morning to you, Dr. Sharma.
Good morning, Wendy Burke. I'm hearing you loud and clear. A very pleasing voice, a credit to this great country. As you've said, we publish Equality newspaper, and here is your very charming and distinguished Prime Minister on the front page. And ours, of course, Prime Minister Trudeau. We have been in publishing for the last 5 decades. My reason for being in Barbados is to help to spread the word of tourism in Ontario. We have almost 4 million Caribbean peoples from different islands living in Ontario and country. That message, I made it very clear to your Minister, Lisa Cummins, and also the very distinguished CEO, Mr. Rudy Grant, for them to reach out. You do not beat tourism drums at home. We need to beat it in Ontario. I have also discussed that with your very eloquent Prime Minister, who is also going to Guyana this weekend.
Okay, you will be with that delegation?
That will be correct also.
Okay,
And
what are
I
some
hope-
of the other things that you're pushing outside of tourism, and how is your newspaper helping to effect it? Do you have a specific column that speaks to what the sights and sounds are to be enjoyed in the region?
Yes, if anyone look at www.equalitynews.ca, you will see that we have a very large Caribbean-based readership that stays with us for the last, as I've said, 5 decades. We want to increase more pages on Barbados in particular. And I believe that we can help this country in tourism like we are doing for Guyana and other parts of the world. One important point that we like to stress, Canada has 250 multicultural unities. They have 5 million South Asians, and these are prime, all homeowners, well-to-do, that can come here and bring the tourism dollars right here, especially when it is cold, Wendy. Having said that, we have a Prime Minister in this country unmatched. And I'm saying that publicly. I said it in Equality newspaper, and I'm very proud of that statement. She openly called our President of Guyana, her brother, Dr. Irfan Ali. Also agriculture, both of them are pushing that to enhance food products to this country. Lots to say in this very short time, but before I go, let me give our very charming Canadian High Commissioner Lillian Chatterjee a shout out, and also my man on the ground here, Mr. Rudy Grant and Rodney Grant. They have all the information of Equality News. And finally, to His Excellency Sridhat Ramphal, one of the Guyanese that have made the whole Caribbean proud. You have a very charming voice for radio. We wish that the world can see that, and one day you will even broadcast in Ontario for us also.
That would be a pleasure, Dr. Sharma, that would be. Now, what I want to look at is one of the things that your paper does, and you spoke to it, the 250 ethnicities. And we have a lot more individuals from Barbados, especially, leaving here, not only to work on your farm labor program there in Canada, but the hotel sector has also now opened up to us. So when it's slow season here, some people come to Canada and take up employment there. How would you look to bolster programs like that to ensure that people of the Caribbean can indeed spread their wings?
Well, Canada is open to the world. We have a very kind Prime Minister. Multiculturalism is our motto in Canada. we see every race as like the flowers of the garden, a very colorful country. Barbadians are welcome. I would like to see the day when your Prime Minister here, our Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Mottley, addressed the Parliament of Ontario and also in Ottawa. As you know, as I've said again, it's nice to see that Prime Minister Trudeau and her doing a lot for the environment. As the United Nations recently appoint both of them as co-chair to protect the health of the environment indeed. Thank you for the opportunity to be in your great program. I know many of our reporters are looking at the program, even in Toronto, in Guyana, and around the world. But we need again to beat the tourism drums in Ontario to attract that 250 multicultural groups that can come here, especially when it is cold, Wendy.
Yes, especially when it's cold. Yes, and COVID had, given us a bit of a kick in terms of how our season was going, because a lot of people were prevented from traveling and such. Like, Canada would have had its prohibitions at different intervals. But now, luckily, we're all open and it's time to travel again. We know what the travel protocols are, so I thank you for pushing it through your newspaper. Now, if I can look at your paper in particular, and the fact that you still have your reach in Guyana as well as in Canada. 5 decades is no easy feat, from the 80s to now. Journalism has gone through lots of tumultuous changes. How are you managing to deal with keeping your mainstay in print while getting the competition which we get from the digital world? How have you been coping?
Very good question. If you look at the archives of equalitynews.ca, you will see the large Jamaican supermarkets, the East Asian supermarkets, the South Asian supermarkets, the Guyanese West Indian stores. They have been there consecutively for decades with us. And the reason, because our people in Kenya look forward for fresh products from the Caribbean. So as they pick up the fresh food, the fish from the Caribbean, as we would say in Guyana, the gilbaca and catfish, they also read the Equality News. What is important, and there you'll see it's coming up there, is the lovely
Senator Cummins, yes.
yes, and our president there. So we have a platform that is untouched presently by Barbados. And I'm doing that not as a business, but more to see this great country grow. And I love this place, and I believe that this remains the jewel of the Caribbean. As I said publicly this morning to my reporters, we have another jewel in this country, and that is Queen Mia Mottley, your Prime Minister.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm glad that you hold her in that high a level of esteem. And I'm sure that at some point somebody will be willing to get on that platform and ensure that the space you're willing to offer Barbados is indeed met. There's lots going on. You mentioned the linkages between us and Guyana. There will be a trip this week where we are looking to bolster that agreement between the two nations, because feeding your people is very critical, and Guyana has resources that Barbados does not have in terms of the ample land, and we have other resources that Guyana does not have in terms of the genetic material from our black belly lamb and so on. So there's lots to link on, and we're happy that we're going to be looking to put that arrangement into place, Dr. Sharma. Outside of those areas, what are some of the other pluses that you've seen thus far within CARICOM, and how we connect as well to the Canadian market?
What I would like to see happen is that we cash into Africa, cash into India. India has 2 billion people, and it is expensive to go to India from Toronto, but we are only 5 hours to Barbados. That market is ready and able, willing to come to Barbados. Now, that's one area we talk about tourism. With respect to Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, our present president, is very interesting in getting food products over here in a very large way. And that is one of the areas that Barbados and Guyana is working towards. And I believe with your Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Motley, and President Irfan Ali can make this happen. Because bringing down food products is important, plus organic food products, as you rightly observed, Wendy, we have the land space. Let's use it. Let's bring back the environment in order. Let's eat quality food. And Guyana is open for business. We are charming as they go. I am an example of a good-looking Guyanese.
Yes, Dr. Sharma, yes. And a Guyanese who is constantly promoting Guyana and the region, which is good because there's some of us who, you know, unfortunately still push xenophobia type of vibe, but luckily you're not. You're looking at the Caribbean space as a whole and as unity among us. Now, outside of the food, we're also looking at Guyana's gold, and your artisans will be coming on board with our people to teach them goldsmithing. And, you know, we're actually going to be setting up a gold bank here, and that's something that's exciting because we know how the market has been going where the gold trade is concerned.
They say nothing is as good as Guyana gold, you see. You remember the old days when they wanted to discover the city of gold, El Dorado? It is still there. Oh my gold mine, I'm saying this because Prime Minister is listening to us this morning too, our Prime Minister in Canada. I am saying this publicly and for the world to know that Oh my gold mine, largest gold find was in Guyana. We have several Canadian companies doing gold mining there. That should be an invite, not only for food, but that should be an invite directly from our president to Queen Mia Motley that we have investors here in the gold industry. We have lands, the right people to the right minds to approach, and that's a fantastic area, gold mining. Of course, Guyana's jewelry are some of the best designs in the world. I'm even looking at your earring and I can see that coming. That's coming from Guyana.
You're very observant.
Yes.
Yes, you're very observant. Yes, because, and it's something that we're looking forward to because sometimes you may stagnate in a craft and you know, because a particular design is popular and people like it, you tend to, you know, go back into that train and say, okay, I'm going to stay in this mindset. But luckily, when your artisans come over to give training to some of ours, we will see exactly how much can be developed in the area of goldsmithing. Now, Guyana has also said to us in Barbados and the Caribbean, come on over and work because you've struck oil. And so many people are now actually interested in Guyana and they are recognizing the wealth of what it has to offer.
I hope that in the wisdom of our president and new president, very distinguished Irfan Ali, will share that wealth to the Caribbean. You know, it is said, it is difficult to reach stardom, but it's unfortunate if you do not take others with you when you're at the top. And I'm sure, again, I'm repeating this, I know Queen Mia Motley will get him to do that. Sharing to the Caribbean people is an important aspect. It feels good, it's the best thing to do. And you mentioned the point of our goldsmiths coming over here. I hope that they will weave the Barbados map and the first preparation for Barbadians when they travel over the world. And there's so much to do, and we are adding pages of Barbados and Guyana, increasing the circulation. It's 250,000 weekly readership in Ontario, in Metro Toronto itself, and a wider reach in Ontario. Online, 2.7 million hits. These are Google reports. In short, Wendy, the platform is the right platform that is lovely jewel of the Caribbean need.
It sounds
And
that way to me because after being in business since 1981 and still managing to keep a captive audience, not only from the diaspora, but also to ensure that, you know, more and more people are buying a newspaper or logging on each day to see exactly what is within those pages. It's no small feat. We all know that because no longer is the saying, if it bleeds, it leads true. People want to read more out of a newspaper now. We're no longer interested in all of the negatives or the sensational. We want to see things which are developmental to our countries, to our children, to our psyche overall.
Very well said. More I talk to you, I'm enjoying that beautiful radio voice that you have. Let me say this before I go. Guyana is ready, it's open for business, and we need the right thinking business people to cash in. Now is the time to do that. The Caribbean come first, the Caribbean is our first family, and they should do that. Why should we allow others from, and this might be a little personal note, outside of the Caribbean region to take, you know, the best of what we have to offer? Our people comes first, and your Prime Minister has that appeal, and he has the ear of the President, and I know openly she will call Irfan Ali her brother, you see? So things are happening, and as you rightly said, we need to feature more positive things what's happening. Guyana recently, they're saying that has 10% of the oil found in the world. And that's news. It's music to my ear. It's music to your government here. It's music to your Prime Minister here, and all of us here.
It's also music to the ears of Guyanese as well, because there's going to be so much growth potential across the country, you know, and already they have been seeing the changes in the economy in terms of your GDP and so on. It's already on the increase.
Yes. The 47% increase in GDP is unknown in the world. You know, it's also almost matching your beauty, you see. But let me say this before I go. I hope, before I forget this point, we are now establishing also Equality Radio. And if you have a way through technology to reach that 5 million Caribbean people, we'll welcome that on Equality Radio also.
Okay.
Having said that,
I'm happy to hear that, because there's so much we can do with both radio and television, and it's always about spreading the message. And right now within CARICOM, we're seeing the growth, we're seeing the potential. There's our free movement certificate, so it's not going to be difficult for us as Barbadians to enter Guyana in our various areas of endeavor to be able to work there, because we're all looking to build the nations, whether it be directly or indirectly with us sending our monies back home, but we're looking to build out the region as a whole.
Very well said. Let me leave a little joke with you before I go. Barbados is no stranger to Guyana. You may remember President Desmond Hoyt. It is believed that he's got a Barbadian. And that's great news, you see. I would like to see the more happening, but the atmosphere is right. And then again, to reach us through Equality newspaper, your people can look at www.equalitynews.ca, and also the very distinguished Rudy Grant and my friend Rodney Grant. They're all here in this pretty land. I'm inviting Rodney to come and see firsthand on my next trip to that great country. And you of course, Prime Minister should bring you on this trip. That voice is not only sounding like a bell. We need good reporters like you to make things happen. Sight, sound, and beauty.
Okay, I thank you for that compliment, Dr. Sharma. I want to thank you for joining me here this morning. Continue to do the work you're doing at Equality News, because to keep a paper going for that length of time is by no measure a small feat. So that speaks to your dedication to journalism and also your dedication to the region. Once again, I thank you for being my guest, and I hope you enjoy your stay here while in Barbados.
Thank you very much, Pretty. Stay lovely, and God bless this great country. God bless your Prime Minister and the governments, our Canadian High Commissioner Lillian Chatterjee, and all of you. Thanks again, and good morning, Barbados.
Thank you. That was Dr. Bhaskar Sharma, the founder of the Equality Group of Companies, encouraging and showing that he too is helping to light that flame for Barbados. And we also have our season of emancipation coming up. There are going to be some events toward the end of the week, the 21st and the 25th. So go on out and find them. You can go to the ministry's website to see all that will be happening during the season of emancipation. Also, too, we want to congratulate that young Barbadian, Miles, for doing all that he's doing. Miles Gittens, keeping the Bajan flag flying and ensuring that, international television even picked him up to bring his story of what he's been doing. It's going to be a marvelous Monday. Trust and believe. I want to thank you for joining me this morning. Wendy Burke here on Morning Barbados, and I wish you all a safe and pleasant day.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.